My name is Carlton Cartwright. I'm the Executive Director for Veterans Memorial and Multicultural Histories Incorporated. Today is the 24th of November, 2021, and today is Wednesday. And we are at the home of, sir, what is your name?
Marc Royster.
Okay, Mr. Royster. Mr. Royster, when's your birthday?
December 4th, 1960.
And what city do you live in?
I live in Pembroke Pines, Florida, just north of Miami, northwest of Miami, and southwest of Fort Lauderdale.
Okay, and what branch of the service did you serve in?
Army.
Okay, and how long have you been in the Army?
I served 17 years.
Okay, and what year did you go in the Army?
I went in July 1978 and stayed for 3 years, got out for 6 months and went back in. So my entry date was adjusted to January 1979.
Okay, okay. Where were you at the time you went into the Army?
I was in Miami, Florida.
And why did you choose that branch?
Well, a friend approached me with the idea of, we had the buddy system at that time. I'm not sure if they still use it now. And I just thought it was a great idea. I had a chance to go to college. I was a track athlete, but I was looking at the future and I knew that I could run track, but I wanted to do something for the service, so the Army was a good idea. Thought about the Navy. My father was in the Navy, but I wanted to do the Army and I thought it was a better fit for me.
Okay.
And my grandfather served in World War I. So, not that I wasn't influenced, but I just thought the Army was a good idea.
Gotcha. Yes. Right. So, what state were you in before you went in service? Where did you grow up?
I grew up here in Miami, in the Miami area. I was born in Yonkers, New York, but I grew up in Miami.
Okay. Okay. So where did you go into this? Where did you enter into the service?
Okay, so I entered in at the MAP station there in Miami, Florida. It is now known as Doral, the Doral area, and that is where the MAP station was at the time.
Okay. And so from there, where did they send you for basic training?
So for basic training, I went to Fort Jackson, South Carolina, and spent about 6 weeks of basic training there. At that time, it was 6 weeks.
Huh.
And from there, I went to Fort Lee, Virginia for AIT, Advanced Individual Training. I was a 76 Delta, which was a supply technician, can't think of the full words, material supply technician. Okay. And my first permanent duty was Fort Bliss, Texas.
Okay. Supply, that was your MOS, AIT, exactly. Right. How long was that training?
That training was about 8 weeks, 8 weeks of AIT training, and left there, Fort Lee, in December of 1978, and then I arrived at Fort Bliss December 31st, I remember vividly, of 1978. So
Fort Bliss is in Texas,
right? It's in Texas, right. Yeah, right on the border of El Paso and Juarez.
How long was that tour?
That tour was about 14 months, not long at all. From there, I went to Germany.
But let's go back for a minute. Tell me about basic training. How was it? How many instructors? How was the food? How did they treat you?
The basic training, I was probably the only one that gained weight in basic training. The food was delicious, 3 hots and a cot. The training was strenuous. For some reason, the drill sergeants had taken a liking to me, maybe because I was so young. I was 17, just out of high school, and I had this bubbly, this happy-go-lucky approach, I guess. And so I had some challenges, obviously, there in basic training, but I thought it was novel. It was different. I enjoyed it. I enjoyed the challenge. It was quite different. It was only 6 weeks,
right?
Though, but during that time, it was great. Met new people and. It was quite exciting.
Could you say the same about your AIT time?
The AIT was even better.
Was that still in?
AIT was in Fort Lee, Virginia, which is in Petersburg, Virginia. And that was even better. I had a bond with a few friends I met in basic training, and we were part of the 3rd Herd, Delta 41. I still remember the unit. And 7 of us who were in basic training also went to the same AIT, and we were in the same company, by the way, a Sierra company there at Fort Lee, Virginia. And so there were 7 of us, and we were called the Magnificent 7 there at AIT, and we just had a great time, great time. Of course, the school was a school, but we had a little bit more liberty there in AIT, so we were able to go off post and weekends. We just had a great time. It was fun.
Nice. So you started to tell me, I think it sounded, if I remember correctly, you went to Germany after that.
Yeah, Germany after Fort Bliss. So I arrived at Fort Bliss, stayed there for about.
Before you went overseas, did you go back home and say goodbye? Or?
Yes. I went home a couple times, in fact. After basic training, I was home for about a week and a half, and then I went to AIT, to my permanent duty station, Fort Bliss. I was eager to get there. I could have stayed longer at home, but I was eager to get to Fort Bliss. Got there, just had an interesting time. Fort Bliss was a little bit of a challenge for me. Did not know much, my Magnificent 7 friends were gone, so it was just me. I was young, just turned 18, and most of my colleagues there were older. When I say older, they were like 4 or 5 years older, 24, 25, and I was 18, and a little bit, not homesick, but there's some moments where it just felt kind of odd. And so it was a challenge for me. I did not necessarily like it, but I made the best of it. I would go into Mexico and just do different things, and just made the best of the situation. And I got through it. It was a challenge for me, but I got through it.
And you said you were at Fort Bliss for how long?
For 14 months.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, 14 months. I was there at Fort Bliss. It was, I won't say a culture shock, but it was different.
Why? What was different? What was the culture shock over?
Well, I guess Fort Bliss, I mean, there's nothing really around it except El Paso. El Paso's a pretty big city.
Okay.
So I spent a lot of time just going into the city, just doing things. And I guess the shock of it was just no one my age, basically. No one my age. So most of the people were 23, 24, and they've been in the military for 4 or 5 years already. And I'm trying to fit in, and they were about partying, going to the NCO club, and I was okay with that. But I was trying to live a kind of a decent moral life.
How old were you at that time?
I was 18.
Okay.
Yeah, and so
Okay.
So I began to indulge in different. They drink, so I drink. They hang out at the clubs all times of night, so I do the same thing.
Right.
So I'm like a little brother,
Yeah.
and it was interesting.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So after that, you went to Germany.
I went to Germany.
Where were you stationed?
It was 5th Army Airfield.
What city is there?
Mainz is the big city there. And 5th Army Airfield is a stone's throw away from Mainz.
Okay. And how long was that tour?
That was about 15 months, I would say. I left in July of 81, got there in February, March of 81. I got there February, March of 1980, and I left July of 81. So that's about 15 months or so.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. So how was that tour?
Loved it.
Tell me all the places that you traveled while you were there. How long was it?
I was about 15 months.
Okay. And
so I didn't travel too much. I just stayed around in the area. Went to Wiesbaden quite a bit, Frankfurt quite a bit. Just a few of the areas between those cities. And boy, I tell you, did I get around? I got around. I was on the train, the Bahnhof, went to the Bahnhof, which is a train station, and just made the best of it. I was all over the place in that region. I didn't venture out into the bigger cities like Stuttgart or go into other countries like France or Luxembourg. I had the chance to do it, but I was still young. I was 19 now. And but I just made the best of it. I just didn't stay in the barracks and just, pass the time away. I just made sure that I got out, took pictures of different things, and just tried to enjoy life.
Nice.
Picked up the culture quite a bit. It's amazing. I grew up in Miami, a lot of Spanish, the language. Didn't pick up much Spanish while I lived, in Miami. Had a great chance to do it. But when I was stationed in Germany, well, I tell you, I was picking up the Dutch, the German language, quite easily.
Okay.
And had I stayed another year or two, I may have been quite proficient.
Okay.
So I made the best of it.
I understand.
Yeah.
Good for you. How was the food?
Food was great. Schnitzels and wieners and all this other stuff. The food was it was great. I stuck to the basic though. Schnitzels and kind of the goulash. Kind of the basic steak staples of yeah.
How was the food on the base?
It was okay. It kept me alive.
Okay, so I understand. Where did you go after that?
So after that, I got out the Army. I just had enough. Not that I missed home. I think my thing was I joined the Army 3 weeks out of high school, and for some reason I felt like I was missing something. So I was eager to get back on the block, as they would call it. And so 6 months of on the block was enough to say, you know what, enough of this. So I re-enlisted or prior service, and I was fortunate that they allowed me back in.
Right.
And so from there, I just kept it going. And so my first assignment, I went back to Fort Lee for additional training, and then my first assignment was Fort Hood, Texas.
Oh, and how long were you there this time?
So my duty there at Fort Hood was a break. So I was there at Fort Hood for about 3 months, and I was given the opportunity to serve with the Multinational Force and Observers, MFO, 11 nations there in the Sinai Desert, based on the Camp David Accord of President Carter, Manique Begin, and Anwar Sadat of Egypt. And so based on that Camp David Accord, there was a base there called El Gore. It was an old Air Force base that Israel used. And so I was there for 1 year. It was a 6-month tour, but I extended for an additional 6 months.
Right.
So I stayed there a year. It was the best year I spent in my entire life, even up to this day.
Okay.
Yeah, 1 year in Egypt.
What rank were you at this time?
At that time, I was E4.
Okay.
I was a specialist E4.
Right.
And so while I was there, I went to the E5 board while I was in Egypt with the Multinational Force and Observers.
Right.
And it was just a brilliant time. I had the chance to go into Egypt, go into Israel all the time. I was every other weekend. I'm in Tel Aviv or Jerusalem or Nazareth or Masada or somewhere.
Right.
So
That was a great opportunity for you.
oh my goodness, yeah.
Nice.
I traveled quite a bit there.
So how did your interaction go with the people on the economy, the civilians?
Well, not at all. It wasn't nothing much there at Egypt because we were in the desert, so there wasn't anything there except for a couple of shacks where the Bedouins would put up a little sail and they'll sell a trinket or two.
Right.
But for the most part, we were on base with the other 10 nations, and so I had a chance to interact with them quite a bit. I was just an outgoing person. So I would met friends from Fiji, met friends from Australia, met friends from Great Britain, met friends all over Peru, I should say Paraguay, Uruguay, Colombia. So just had a great time. I just made myself useful. And
So you got to travel all those places?
I never traveled. No, those places were on the base. So all those nations were on the same base.
Gotcha. So you were interacting with people from all over the world in that spot.
In that spot, just a small base, and so they got a chance to know me. I would say that I got a chance to meet a lot of Egyptians who were working on the base. They were hairstylists, or I would get my haircuts there, and they worked at the dining facilities, and I would just befriend them. I just made myself just available to befriend different ones, not only the military folks, but also the civilians who worked on the compound.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay, very nice. How long were you there?
I was there for 1 year, 6 months, and then I extended for another 6 months, so a total of a year.
Okay, total year. And so
And then I went back to Fort Hood.
after that?
Right, because Fort Hood was my original assignment.
Uh-huh.
So I went back to Fort Hood for about a year.
And what did you do while you were there?
So I was in supply.
What was your duty while you were at this?
In Egypt?
Yeah.
I was a supply technician, so I was responsible for shipping, receiving, and issuance of supplies, receiving in supplies, issuing supplies, storing supplies. And that was very interesting because our distribution center, we put in everything. So we were getting in supplies that was destined for the PX or the post exchange, and until they figured things out. But it was quite interesting, just getting in all kinds of supplies, equipment, things of that sort. And it was fun. It was interesting.
Okay.
Right.
So now you went back to where?
I went back to Fort Hood.
And what was your duty there?
And
Still in
so
supply?
I was still in supply. I went to, I was selected to go to the primary leadership development course after a period of time of being there at Fort Hood. And I graduated second in my class for the primary leadership development course.
Okay.
And so the sergeant major of my battalion was impressed, that, hey, you graduated second, and you did great, so I have a special job for you if you're interested. I said, of course I am. And so he wanted me to be the driver for the battalion commander.
Wow.
So again, I left that assignment as working in supply or logistics, and I drove for the battalion commander for about 10 months. Drove for the battalion commander, learned a lot.
What was his rank?
His rank was a lieutenant colonel,
Okay.
and he ended up retiring as a full colonel. And then after he retired, he became the CEO of a defense contracting company. He did quite well for himself.
Okay.
But during those 10 months, I tell you, I learned so much, and I was intrigued with his leadership, so much so that I said, you know what? I think I like the Army. I think I want to stick around because I learned some values in leadership. I learned about people skills. I learned about how to take care of soldiers, how to manage things, and how to interact. And it was a good experience. It practically transformed my trajectory with the military. Just that 10 months being the colonel's driver.
Okay. Nice.
It transformed me. Yeah.
So it influenced you.
Big time.
Good
Big
news.
time.
Okay. What did you do after that tour?
So after that tour, I was got assignment. They tried to send me to Germany at first, but they promised me that I could stay there at Fort Hood for a little bit longer. So I did, and I was assigned to Fort Richardson, Alaska. Not Fort Richardson, Fort Wainwright, Alaska.
Okay.
So I went from Fort Hood to Alaska, Fort Wainwright, Fairbanks.
How long was that tour?
I was there in Fairbanks about 3 years and 3 months. 3 years, 3 months, 3 years, yeah, 4 months.
And what was your job?
So my job again was supply at that time. I was making rank now. I made E5, and then 1 year later I made E6. So I was really on the fast track. And so working in supply, just doing the logistical things, but I was doing it for the aviation unit now, aviation battalion. Receive, store, issue, and I was also doing BPAs, blanket purchase agreements. So I was doing supply, but I always also was doing some procurement or purchasing on the economy.
Gotcha. And so tell me about Alaska.
Alaska was great. Alaska was a whirlwind. I made E6. I received my associate's degree while I was there, as well as my bachelor's degree while I was there. I was just very active, just doing things. Had got married to my wife, who's we're still married 36 years later.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Got married in 85. My 1 year into my assignment there. Then my firstborn, my daughter was conceived while we were there. But she was not born there. She was born 1 month after we had left.
Okay.
Yeah. And so I was accepted into the Warrant Officers Program.
Oh.
So I applied for Warrant Officer School. I applied for OCS actually first, but they were taking so long that someone gave me the brilliant idea that, hey, you know what, why don't you apply for Warrant Officer School? And you can stick with the specialty of logistics. I said, oh, that's not a bad idea.
Okay.
So I applied for Warrant Officer School, and Warrant Officer School responded with the approval before OCS did.
Okay.
And so I took the offer to go to Warrant Officer School.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm just curious, what is the difference between a regular officer and a warrant officer?
Well, okay, so a warrant officer is a specialist. They specialize in a specific field, a specific area. For example, I was a logistics warrant officer, so my background was in logistics. So I became a technician, an expert in that area. Versus a commissioned officer, a warrant officer is also a commissioned officer, but a regular lieutenant, captain, major type of officer, they are considered generalist. A generalist, so meaning that they can do multiple things. Right, they may be the S1 working in administration, then they're doing something else. So a generalist is the best term that I could come up with.
Right.
So they can do they may command a company. They may serve as the logistics officer for the battalion, or they may become an executive officer, or whatever it might be. Okay.
Right.
But when we talk about a warrant officer, the warrant officer would always do the very same thing, regardless of his or her assignment. So whether I'm at Fort Richardson, Alaska, or Fort Stewart, Georgia, or Fort Hood, Texas, or Fort Bragg, I will still be functioning in the same type of role.
Okay.
As an expert in the field.
And this was still while you were in Alaska?
So I did not become a warrant officer while I was in Alaska. I was accepted to the program.
Okay.
So in January of 1988, I went to school. I started school for the warrant officers program.
I meant to ask you, I heard you say you got 2 degrees? What were the majors?
Well, at that time, I have 4 now, but at that time, I had an associate's degree, got that in 1985, associates in general studies. 2 years later, I received my bachelor's degree in business from William Baptist University while I was there at Fort Wainwright, my master's degree. And then later on, I received my doctoral degree I received my doctoral degree. I have two doctoral degrees. One is in ministry, and the other one is in organizational leadership.
Nice. Okay. Congratulations again.
Right.
Okay. So that's Dr. Royster.
But I was Marc first before I became doctor. So Marc is fine.
Okay. So you left Alaska and
went to Fort Stewart, Georgia.
And how long were you there?
Well, again, that was a split assignment. I was there at Fort Stewart for about 2 years before the Persian Gulf War kicked off. And so we were assigned, or we received orders to go to Saudi Arabia August of 1990.
Okay.
I was at Fort Stewart then for about 2 years, about 2.5 years before the Persian Gulf kicked off.
Okay. And so then you were stationed back in the
States with the 24th Infantry Division.
In the Middle East?
Yes.
And for how long was that tour?
8 months. I was there with the 24th Infantry Division in Saudi Arabia and Iraq for 8 months.
Okay. Up to this point, all of the duty stations that you've been, all the tours that you've been on, Were there any casualties? Anybody get hurt? Did you ever get hurt up to this point?
Before the Persian Gulf War?
Yes. That you can think of. I'm sorry.
No. Yeah. I've known of folks who were killed while I was in Egypt.
Okay.
Car accident, drowning. So I knew of a couple of people that died.
Anything combat related?
No.
No
Combat related.
Okay, but there were injuries. There were fatalities. There were
fatalities. Yes.
So now you're in the Persian Gulf. What year is this?
This is 1990, August 1990.
And how long was the tour?
8 months. I was there from August until April.
Okay. And tell us about it.
Well, we received orders. We heard about Saddam Hussein possibly crossing over into Kuwait. This was about July 31st, and I just knew something was going wrong, and so I gathered my troops. I was a platoon leader as well as I was over the supply support activity there at Fort Stewart. So everybody was wondering, would Saddam Hussein cross over? And so and CNN and all that. So I gathered my soldiers. I said, you know what? I'm going to tell you this. If Saddam Hussein crosses over into Kuwait, there is almost an assurity that we will be going over there. And sure enough, the next day, August 2nd, he went over. And so we did not get orders for about a week and a half or so.
Right.
So we got orders to go over, and so we packed up our stuff. We had to be very creative because we did not have all of the transportation access that we really wanted. So we had to put trailers in tandem, and but we got it done. We left a lot of parts there. Unnecessary parts like bumpers. Who needs a bumper in war, right?
Right. Well.
Right. So we left all the unessential stuff there. We took the major things that we needed.
How many people were in your unit?
At that time, I had about 28 soldiers at that time, and I got built up to about 50 something while I was over there. They added more soldiers to my platoon.
And I take it that you were the commander.
I won't say commander. I was the supply support technician. I was in charge of that distribution center, the main support battalion of the 724th Infantry Division. We did have a lieutenant. He was there with me, but he was more of the administrative side as the platoon leader, but I was over, because I was the expert in logistics, I was over how the operations, how operations operated.
Right.
I guess you could say that. I was more like an operations officer.
Okay.
Yeah.
And I think you said you were there for 8 months?
8 months.
Any casualties?
Yes. Not in my unit, but there were casualties during the war. Fortunately, we did not experience any deaths in my
immediate.
Yeah.
Okay, but other units that were okay. So what was the proximity? How do I say? What were your relationships? What was your relationship with the units that had casualties? Okay,
so I did not know anyone personally, just to be clear.
Right.
But we were the main support battalion, so we were right behind the maneuver brigades.
Uh-huh.
We had to keep up with them because we carried the supplies, we carried the extra parts, we carried engines and things of that sort. So we were not too far behind or within close proximity. We would hear the signals going on. We would hear the rockets and the gunfire and all the other things associated with war. Wasn't in the far distance.
So you had pretty much of a front seat, just hadn't lost anybody.
We had pretty much of a front seat, okay. Or at least in the back seat.
Right.
Yeah.
But I'm saying without, I get it.
Yeah. We would come up upon.
It wasn't your job to engage the enemy.
Right. We would come upon the results of our maneuver brigades, and it wasn't pretty.
Uh-huh.
dead bodies, dismembered, blood and guts,
Right.
all the fresh stuff. Yeah.
Okay. So, how did you cope with that? How did you and your men, or were there women in your
Yes.
unit? How did you and your soldiers cope with those incidences?
Well, it is amazing. I would have to regress back to the first part of the war, or Desert Shield. I'm a motivational guy. I am a minister. So leading up to the war, I would have Bible study, once a week. And
How old were you at this time?
I'm 29.
Then you were 29.
Yeah, I'm 29.
Okay, you just 30-year-old.
Yeah, 30. I turned 30 while I was there.
Right.
And so the commanders, everybody liked the idea of me encouraging people, taking away some fear. You're going to be okay. Kind of reading them scriptures, just being encouragement. And they gave me attention to do that.
Right. And so you're using your spiritual self to get.
I'm using my spiritual self to help others, just get over the angst and the anxiety of potential war, because we're going there.
Right.
And so, that part. And so when the ground war, and I did that for the first 6 months, five months I did it, just constantly.
Right.
So when the ground war started, the air war first, and then the ground war, when we pushed into Iraq, and we hit them with lightning speed, we were moving fast. And then now I'm looking at all of these dead bodies, and I'm looking at dismembered, figured, blood and guts, and all the other stuff, and some stories that it took me 20 years to even talk about. It took me 20 years. It's amazing I'm talking about it now because time passed, but it took therapy to get to this point of even talking about it.
Right.
And it took me a minute to kind of reconcile me being motivational, me talking about life, and yet within three weeks I'm looking at all these dead people and the effects of war. So for me, it was not in the moment because I'm focusing on surviving, but after that, it took me a moment to kind of reconcile all of that. It was really a challenge, especially even after when we left and we went back into the cantonment area. Something major happened there that really shocked me. It shocked me, that happened. So for the most part, I would say it was interesting. War is hell, as I think it was General Sherman once said. I'm not sure if I'm contributing to the right person or not. But it was pretty brutal. It was brutal. Yeah, brutal.
I'm sure.
Yeah. As far as casualties, we later found out that there were people who died, who got killed.
Right. That you knew?
No, I did not know.
Okay.
I did not know. Just in units in front of me.
What kind of numbers? Just speculate. I know you don't have an exact figure.
Well,
The time that you were there, just
me not knowing. We were hearing 20, 30 folks, but then what I know now is based on what I read and I understand. The casualties, considering the major part of the war, the casualties were low. I mean, one casualty is bad.
right.
But considering everything, I think 100 and something, I don't even know the numbers, I think 100, less than 200 were killed.
The time period that you were there.
Yeah.
200 people.
Less than 200.
Less than 200.
Yeah.
Somewhere between 100 and 200. I understand.
140, 170. I don't even know the exact numbers, but yeah.
Okay. All right. So, where did the military take you after that tour?
So we went back to Fort Stewart.
In what state?
Georgia.
Got it.
We did the retrograde operations from Iraq back to Saudi Arabia, back to Fort Stewart, Georgia, and I stayed there at Fort Stewart, Georgia probably about 8-9 months, and then I was reassigned back to Alaska, a different part of Alaska, but Alaska nevertheless.
Okay, and how long were you in Alaska this time?
I was in Alaska this time for about 2.5 years.
And what was your same duty or different?
Same, because I was an expert in my field, so I was doing kind of the same things, working in different capacities. I would have a distribution center, or I would work at the, what would they call the DISCOM, or the Division Support Command.
Okay.
Right, there's where we control all of the things coming in and going out.
Okay.
Yeah.
And how long was the tour this time?
So I was there for about 2.5 years.
Right.
There in Anchorage, Fort Richardson, Alaska.
Mm-hmm.
And by the time I had a son now, my wife gave birth maybe when I got back from, we call them desert babies. You know? Okay. So my son was conceived and he joined us there in Alaska.
He was enlisted into the family.
He was enlisted into the family.
Okay.
And then when I left Alaska, my youngest daughter, she was enlisted. My wife, she was not born in Alaska. She was born about 3 or 4 months after I left Alaska, where I went to Fort Bragg.
Okay. Okay. All right. So that was a fairly peaceful tour.
For Alaska,
Yeah.
It was peaceful, but there was something going on with me that I did not know what was going on, but I knew something was different.
Uh-huh.
It was not the same energy level, same. I knew something was happening.
Okay.
I knew something was going on. My wife knew something was going on, but we did not know what it was.
Uh-huh.
So I got through it, and it was okay. You know, I got through it. Then I was reassigned to Fort Bragg, North Carolina, and just something was just traveling with me.
Uh-huh.
And I just felt like I just couldn't do it anymore.
Mm-hmm.
I said, you know, I'm done. I can't do it. I don't know what's going on with me. I don't know.
What year was this?
I arrived Fort Bragg October of '94.
Okay.
October of '94.
So now you're approaching 35.
I'm approaching 35.
Okay.
Yeah, and I was just struggling badly, and emotionally. I wasn't doing anything crazy, but just trying to find out what's wrong. And I said, you know what, I'm done. I'm getting out. And my wife begged me. She begged me. She said, please don't do it. Don't. You know, you have too many years in. You're close to retirement. At the time I must have had about 15 years, 16 years.
Right.
And I said, baby, I'm sorry, but I just can't do it. I don't know. I can't do it. I'm done. And so she begged me. And she said, well, you know, you do have a baby, you know, and you do have this, and you know. So I managed to just fight it out. I just managed to just grind it. It was painful. It was tough. Not physically, but emotionally and mentally.
So you made it the other 5 years?
No, I did not. Then, at my 17-year mark, they came out with the early retirement. And I said, well, here's my ticket. In 17 years.
You did make it.
I didn't make it.
This is make 20 years.
Right.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay.
Here's my ticket. So
Okay.
I said, thank you.
There you are.
Yeah.
Good news. Congratulations.
Yeah, thank you.
So, if you don't mind me asking, when did it come to a head? Did you know, this issue? Was there a point where you eventually had to come face to face with whatever it was and deal with it?
Yeah. Years later, retired, doing different things.
What did you do after the service?
So I worked for a defense contractor. That was the primary job for a few years. A company called the Logistics Company there, Fort Bragg, or in Fayetteville, great company It was a startup in September of '96.
Right.
I was one of the first employees there. I was the seventh employee, starting the same month, almost the same week as the company started.
Okay.
And I did that. It was great. Was a training person. I did the training, and then from there, because I knew HR, I had a master's degree in HR by that time, I became the HR director of the company. And I did that, and I ended up going to another defense contractor for a year. Then I ended up working at Duke University. I worked there at Duke for about 5 years.
Okay.
Right, until I moved down to the University of Miami. So, to answer your question though, I knew something was really, really wrong with me.
Mm-hmm.
When the second Gulf War started up in about 2002, 2003 up in there, and I'm looking at TV, and I'm looking at, a tank, an Abram M1A1 tank.
Right.
And they're showing this on the TV screen.
Right.
And I'm looking and say, wow, we're going back over there. And so I'm looking, and then the tank began to move off into the distance. And I saw the plume of smoke coming from the exhaust of the M1 tank.
Right.
And the sound of it. And I'm looking, and this lump came in my throat.
Uh-huh.
And I was trying to breathe, and I'm looking at the tank with the plume of smoke and the dust, and I couldn't breathe. And finally, I caught my breath, and I had a panic attack.
Wow.
And when I saw that tank, it was reminiscent of what I saw during the first Gulf War. And right then I said, wow. I said, I had a panic attack. I remember. So I kind of ignored it.
Anxiety, yeah.
Yeah, anxiety. I ignored it. And this was kind of tough to get through, but I get through it. Another time was so a few years had passed later on. And so I'm sitting on the couch, and my youngest daughter is throwing these things, and I'm resting. I'm kind of in and out of sleep, and she's throwing these things at me. And I'm waking up, and I said, what are you doing? And she said, I'm trying to wake you up. I said, well, just come over. She said, no, Dad, because I'm afraid. That's what do you mean? She said, because, if I wake you up too fast, you get into this crazy mode, and I don't want you to hit me. And when she said that, I said, you know what? I need help.
Okay.
And so that was kind of the journey. And
Eye-opener.
An eye-opener,
Yeah.
and then I got it.
Right.
And PTSD, basically.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So you were able to...
Yeah, I got help. So I just tell you, I can talk about it now, but like I said, it took me about almost 20 years to get this information out.
Right.
But there is help available at the VA, and I got help, and some great people to work with, counseling, talking things out, and yeah.
Okay. Well, good. Good. Okay. Awards, medal, citations.
So I was very fortunate to be in the right place at the right time around the right people. I received at least 6 Army Achievement Medals. I have at least 2 or 3 Army Commendation Medals. I have 2 Meritorious Service Medals, the Non-Commissioned Officers Medal, the Multinational Force Observers Ribbon, Good Conduct Medal, Kuwait Liberation from Saudi Arabia, the Southwest Asia Medal, then another one, quite a few. It was the right place, right time, around the right people to recognize my achievements and contributions. So,
How do you feel overall you got along with officers and enlisted overall?
great, big, because I would say I was both. I came up the ranks from E1 to E6.
Mm-hmm.
staff sergeant in the Army, and then went to one officer school, then became an officer, and there was a lot of interaction between me and other commissioned officers, majors, colonels, lieutenants, so forth and so on. So my relationship was right there. So I understand both.
Do you stay in touch with any of the people that you served with?
There is one person, well, a couple of people, yeah, a couple of people, several friends died from diseases, whatever it might be. But there are a couple of folks that I still maintain contact with that I was on active duty with.
Okay. I think this is going to be a little bit of a redundant question since you were in charge of supply. Throughout your military career, do you feel like you had all the supplies that you needed to get your job done?
I would say so, except for the first month or two during the Desert Shield part.
Okay.
There was a lack of batteries, lack of basic things. Nothing that would stop us from engaging in war at the time, but a lot of items that we really needed, they just were not there because they were trying to ship them over as fast as they could. So the logistical train was almost a train wreck, but it was tough getting some supplies in, and I was the main distribution center for our division. So everything, and I say everything, came through me.
Right.
And not me, but my supply support activity.
Right, I understand.
Yeah, and I had two smaller battalions. They were called forward battalions. Under me, so I was the main distribution center, and I would give supplies to those forward battalions, and they provided supplies to the maneuver brigades that they supported. So it was busy. I mean, busy. We were running practically 24/7. We had to because supplies were just coming in. They were coming in, and missed it. It should have gone somewhere else. A lot of frustrated cargo because we didn't know, there was no designation to it. But we got it done. We got it done.
Were you ever short on food and water?
No.
Okay.
Never.
Okay.
No.
Good. Okay, just a couple more questions. Did your military experience influence your thinking about war or about the military in general?
All the time. All the time. I think about war. I don't like it. I wish it could be avoided, but I know it is a necessary evil, because if we do not go to war when there is a need, then the alternative is to suffer some things that we may not want, and that can last for a generation. So war is necessary. Only when we absolutely have to. So I am a spiritual man. I'm a man of the cloth. I pastor a church. I do missionary work. And so you say, how do you reconcile it? I just have to, because I know war is necessary when it comes to it. I'd rather do that than to endure the horse of evil when people want to impose their will and their whatever it is, upon us. The alternative is just not tenable. So, in that regard, I'm okay with it, and so that's kind of how I feel about it. Yeah.
One last question. How did your service and experiences affect your life?
I am, well, it certainly matured me. Okay, you keep in mind, I've known the military from age 17, so those are some formative years. A lot of the people that influenced me, I still remember them. I still remember my drill sergeants' names. I still remember key leaders who influenced me. For example, the colonel that I talked about, who I drove for. I still think about him a lot. I think about the people that I served with. the people that served under me when I got more rank. So I am measured. It has allowed me to become more measured, poised, understanding, but at the same time, and compassionate and empathetic, but at the same time, hold standards. And I think standards are very important to uphold. And I know that's a general statement, but I guess you could say organization is important. Love of country. I love my country. I tell folks that I am 8 deep, 8 generations deep. I go back to my great-great-grandmother who was born in 1817 here in the U.S. And, you know, her son, Peter, his son, John, and William, and Mary, and Martha, me. And I have my son, and I have a grandson. So I say I'm 8 deep, in this country. Love it. I'm not leaving it. I'm here. So, and I served.
Right.
My grandfather was in World War I. He was a doughboy. He served. My father, in World War II, a Navy guy. He served. And so, yeah, I love my country, and the military has taught me a lot. I would like the idea for every person. This is ridiculous, it'd be expensive. But I was at a basic training graduation 2 weeks ago. My nephew, my brother's son, joined. He finished basic training. And I said, wow, it would be ideal. Now, they went to basic training for 10 weeks. I would say, wouldn't it be nice if a lot of our young men and women can go to some sort of modified basic training for, say, 4 or 6 weeks, just to give them a taste. They are already in selective service. They have to do that. Would it be nice, even if they don't go to a basic training camp, they go to some sort of National Guard base to do some sort of couple of three weeks just to get some sort of exposure. And then if something should happen, they at least have that. I'm just talking, I don't know. But that's how much respect
I understand.
I have for the military. And I encourage young people now. I think I'm a big recruiter for the military.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm big on recruitment. I tell folks everywhere, young folks, if you don't have your mind made up, you're trying to figure things out, consider the military. I do it all the time.
Okay.
Got my nephew to join.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Well, I want to thank you for, you feel like there's anything that you left out that you'd like to share?
No, I don't. The military has been good to me, and I thank you for all that you're doing. I thank God for the opportunity to sit here and capture these moments. I think is noteworthy. I made a contribution, not sure how big or small, but it was a contribution. And I love my country. I love the military services, all the men and women that serve. Great job. Kudos to you. Thank you for your service. Continue to fight the good fight of faith. And thank you. I'm honored.
Did you have any misfortune as far as any racial incidences, negativity?
Oh yeah. I've had some. I've had some painful ones. Not necessarily, me, but my kids when I was in one assignment, not coming from the military per se, but the military community.
Right.
My daughter one time, wanted to play a playground there, and the mother briefly grabbed her kids and took off.
Where was this at? Can you remember?
I know where it was. I just don't want to say it to put a disparaging idea into the minds of the people. But it was in Alaska.
Okay.
It was in Alaska. I enjoyed Alaska. And Alaska was one of my best places I've ever been stationed. And the people in the economy were great. But there were some people on base that had issues with themselves. It wasn't my problem.
Right.
It was their problem.
Right. I understand.
So yeah, there was some racism there, but I'm kind of one of these people that I've been gifted with the ability to disarm people. I'm able to disarm them.
Okay.
You know, and so
Nice.
I keep it going.
Okay.
I keep it going.
Well, I want to thank you for a wonderful, just a great interview.
Thank you.
And I also want to thank you for your service.
Thank you, sir.
Okay.
Thank you for having me. Appreciate it.
Absolutely.